Here's Clark. Wow! You bet! From beyond the logo! And a little point afterward.
Hold up, don't just breeze past this, because this is way bigger than a routine sports headline. This feels like a strategic takeover. NBC is bringing back Sunday night basketball, and they're not easing into it quietly. They've made a bold statement. Caitlin Clark is front and center. Primetime, Madison Square Garden, Lakers versus Knicks, the most iconic stage in basketball, and right there at the main desk under the brightest lights in the game is Caitlin Clark. This isn't random, it's deliberate. It's a clear signal that the spotlight has officially shifted.
Lakers, Knicks, Staples, LeBron James, not on the floor. Sitting out one more, but what a game it was.
She's not popping in for a quick guest spot or a flashy halftime appearance. She's sitting shoulder to shoulder with Hall of Fame icons, stepping into a position that represents far more than analysis. This isn't about honoring the past. It's a calculated move about owning the future. NBC isn't simply reviving a broadcast, they're reshaping who gets to drive the narrative around basketball, and with one bold decision, they've sent a loud message. The next era of sports media isn't on the way, it's already here. Now let's break down why this move is so smart from a business standpoint, because it truly is. Every legacy sports network is facing the same reality. Their longtime audience, the viewers who never missed a pregame show in the 90s and early 2000s, is still loyal. But that audience isn't expanding, it's aging, and networks can't survive on nostalgia alone. At the same time, there's an entirely different generation of fans rising up, younger, hyper-connected, raised on highlight reels, social media feeds, TikTok clips, and viral debates. They don't consume sports the old way. They don't tune in out of habit. Slick graphics and classic theme songs aren't enough to pull them in. They need a hook. They need a personality. They need someone who feels bigger than the broadcast itself. And right now, that person is Caitlin Clark. Look at what she's accomplished in just 2 years. She transformed ordinary Iowa Hawkeyes regular season games into must-watch national events. She shattered long-standing records, milestones people believed were untouchable, marks that had survived for decades suddenly fell. That's not hype, that's impact.
University of Iowa guard Caitlin Clark, smashing records and captivating fans across the nation.
She didn't just dominate the NCAA women's tournament, she turned it into the most watched basketball event in the country, surpassing even the men's games during her final run. By the time she declared for the WNBA draft, it was a full-blown primetime spectacle. Her rookie season with the Indiana Fever wasn't just basketball, it was a cultural event. Attendance at arenas skyrocketed. TV ratings for the games she played in jumped by hundreds of %. Merchandise sales went through the roof. Caitlin Clark didn't just move the needle, she shattered it, built a new one, and then moved that one too. And here's something most people overlook. Her reach isn't confined to women's basketball fans. That's old school thinking. Her following is massive, diverse, and spans across every corner of sports fandom. NBA fans tune in. College football enthusiasts take notice. Even people who don't regularly watch sports know her name. She transcends the game in a way few athletes ever have. NBC gets this instinctively. They saw it up close during her college years. Remember when they put her record-breaking performance behind the Peacock paywall? That was a clear sign. They understood her drawing power down to the smallest detail.
LeBron James has an emotional trip back home. The Los Angeles Lakers player tears up while facing off against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
People who had never touched a streaming service in their lives suddenly signed up just to watch her play. That's not typical. It's not even rare. For a college athlete, it's practically unheard of. So when NBC faced the task of picking the face of their billion-dollar NBA relaunch, the choice wasn't up for debate. It was glaringly obvious. Now let's get into the details, because this rollout wasn't random. Every single element was meticulously planned. And when the night finally arrived, it didn't just meet expectations, it blew them away. Her debut came on February 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern, live from Madison Square Garden, right before the Lakers tipped off against the Knicks at 7 o'clock. NBC didn't ease her in. They didn't start her on some mid-season matchup between two lottery teams where no one would notice a misstep. They dropped her straight into the spotlight, into the heart of basketball itself. LeBron James potentially making his final MSG appearance as a Laker. The energy, the stakes. It couldn't have been bigger.
It took place in December of 2026. Caitlin, I'm just curious because you said that this moment right now is one of the biggest moments the WNBA has ever seen.
Jalen Brunson and a Knicks squad battling for home court advantage, courtside seats going for more than $1,000. This wasn't a soft opening, it was a full-blown announcement, and NBC knew exactly the impact they were creating, but they didn't stop there. Every tool in their arsenal was deployed for this moment. Bob Costas was on deck. Michael Jordan made a special appearance. Yes, you read that correctly. Let's see, Caitlin Clark shared the same broadcast night as Michael Jordan. That's the level of prestige NBC positioned her with for the launch of their most significant sports property since regaining NBA rights under the league's 11-year, $7.6 billion media deal. Consider this, NBC hadn't aired an NBA game since the 2002 finals between the Nets and Lakers. After more than 20 years of silence, when they returned, they entrusted Caitlin Clark to smash the doors wide open. Clark took her place at the basketball night in America desk, joining host Maria Taylor, and instantly commanded the spotlight.
Growing up, some called it pig, some called it horse. It's a kid's game today. We're calling it NBC.
Carmelo Anthony and Reggie Miller. From the very moment she stepped on screen, it was obvious she belonged. She shared her thoughts on the legendary aura of Madison Square Garden, admitted it was actually her first time attending a Knicks game there, and talked about the unique energy buzzing through the arena. She highlighted how star players elevate their game in critical moments, discussed an NBA player she follows closely, and broke down plays with such precise insight that the Hall of Famers sitting next to her were nodding in agreement. Her Indiana Fever teammate Sophie Cunningham watched from home and later told her podcast audience that Clark was born for this. Another Fever teammate, Aaliyah Boston, who also contributes for NBC on women's college basketball coverage, took to Instagram. Just asking the same question everyone was thinking, what can't you do? And then the fun really kicked in. Before the broadcast, NBC staged a special modified game of HORSE between Clark and former 20-year NBA veteran Jamal Crawford.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy.
Wade finds James! Grab that!
If you know Caitlin Clark at all, you know she doesn't accept defeat quietly. The behind-the-scenes story came out a few days later on the Let Her Shoot podcast. Sarah Chavnik, the director of the segment, shared that Clark lost the first round and immediately told the producers, no, best of three. Nobody had planned for a best of three. Clark simply refused to leave the court with a loss on camera. That moment alone, more than any analysis, stat, or pre-game breakdown, revealed exactly who she is. Competitiveness isn't something she performs, it's built into her DNA. Chavnik also shared a detail that stuck with listeners. She judges athletes by how they treat people behind the scenes, and Clark is someone you can meet as a fan or a colleague and never be disappointed, and the numbers proved NBC's gamble was worth it. The Lakers-Knicks matchup drew 4.5 million viewers across NBC and Telemundo, making it the most watched Sunday night regular season NBA game since 2002, excluding opening night and Christmas games. The Knicks took the win 112-100, but the broadcast felt electric from start to finish.
On Vince Carter, the reimagination of VC immediately following the game on Sportsnet East, Ontario. And
a few days later, NBC president Rick Cordella was asked if viewers could expect to see more of Caitlin Clark on the network, and his response spoke volumes. He highlighted her ongoing partnerships with Xfinity and Comcast, or referred to her as part of the family, and made it clear this was only the beginning. Clark's next scheduled appearance is March 29th in Oklahoma City, when the Thunder host the Knicks. But anyone who watched that first night understood something bigger was happening. This wasn't just a guest spot, it was an audition, and she had already passed with flying colors. Now let's talk about the on-screen setup, because this is where it gets exciting. Imagine the desk, Vince Carter standing 6 feet 6 inches, arguably the greatest in-game dunker in basketball history.
Let's get back to Nike though. I gotta ask some questions because I'm such a huge sneaker fan. You said that you're wearing the new kicks.
A man who once leaped over a 7-footer at the Olympics and made it look effortless. Tracy McGrady, one of the smoothest scorers the game has ever seen, who could sink buckets from anywhere without breaking a sweat. Carmelo Anthony, the mid-range master, the jab step assassin. One of the most prolific scorers in NBA history. And sitting right alongside them, holding her own, Caitlin Clark, the woman who launches shots from the logo like they're layups, whose court vision is so insane it makes NBA point guards stop and do a double take. The conversations that will unfold between these four are pure gold in the making. Picture Clark asking Melo to break down his jab step, and he actually demonstrates the footwork, explains the reads. Imagine Vince Carter asking Clark about her range, genuinely curious how she generates that kind of power from 35 feet. Picture T-Mac and Clark swapping tips on creating space off the dribble, connecting his silky NBA style with her fearless WNBA attack. These aren't fantasy scenarios. NBC is planning for this, and every single exchange is built to go viral. You were every clip where a Hall of Famer looks at Clark with respect and says, yeah, she knows the game. That's going to explode across every platform in minutes. And here's where it gets really exciting. Producer Sam Flood teased that they want Clark holding a basketball on set. That may sound minor, but think about it. Why emphasize that detail? The speculation is already insane. Maybe she does a shooting demo. Maybe she breaks down her mechanics live. Maybe Reggie Miller joins for an impromptu three-point contest. But the theory generating the most hype, that Caitlin Clark will debut her Nike signature shoe live on national television at Madison Square Garden. And speaking of Nike, as a sneakerhead, I have to ask, what's the deal? The release timeline has been unusually quiet, but when you think about it, what launch platform could be bigger? Odds millions of viewers, The Garden, the highest profile basketball broadcast debut of the year. It would instantly become the most talked about shoe reveal since the original Air Jordans. Now, I know there will be critics. They always come. She's too young. She has no broadcasting experience. She hasn't earned a seat next to Hall of Famers. To them, I say, you clearly haven't been paying attention. Caitlin Clark has been in front of cameras since high school, and she's been preparing for this moment her entire career.
Queen of college basketball, with the same style she played with while dominating in high school.
She took on a Manning cast style alternate broadcast during the Final Four, and she didn't just perform well, she was exceptional. Not good for her age, not solid for a first-timer. She was natural, insightful, funny, and genuinely captivating on camera. She stepped into the Yankees broadcast booth and matched seasoned professionals stride for stride. She's handled countless interviews, press conferences, and media appearances without a single awkward moment. Her comfort in the spotlight is rare, something most people never achieve in their entire careers. And her basketball IQ, off the charts. Clark doesn't settle for surface-level commentary. She sees the game differently. She reads defenses like a quarterback scans coverages, understands spacing, timing, angles, and passing lanes with a sophistication that impresses NBA coaches. Bringing that perspective to an NBA broadcast is not just fresh, it's electrifying and exactly the edge NBC needs. Let's be honest, pre-game shows can get stale. The same retired players repeating the same stories, offering the same predictable takes. Caitlin brings something you simply cannot manufacture. She offers the insight of an active elite athlete playing a style that mirrors the modern NBA. High volume threes, pace and space, creative playmaking. She's the perfect analyst for today's basketball because she plays today's basketball. But beyond the broadcast itself, this move does something even bigger for the sport. For years, the NBA and WNBA have existed in separate worlds. Different broadcasts, audiences, and conversations. Placing the face of the WNBA on an NBA desk, analyzing games with authority and credibility, builds a bridge. It tells casual NBA fans, those who might never watch a WNBA game, that she understands basketball at an elite level, and if she can break down LeBron's pick and roll reads on a Sunday night, well, you know she belongs.
Basketball analyst to Caitlin Clark's esteemed resume now, the former Hawkeye and Indiana Fever star will join NBC's Sunday Night Basketball.
Oh, and maybe her own games get more eyes too. It's cross-promotion at its absolute peak, and the ripple effects will strengthen both leagues for years. Two parallel paths, one unified vision. What impresses me most here isn't just the broadcast deal, it's the business savvy. Caitlin Clark is 22 years old. She's just starting her professional career, and already she's laying the foundation for a media empire. Most athletes wait until retirement to think about their next chapter. They play 15 or 20 years, then scramble to figure out what comes next. Caitlin is building her post-playing career while she's in her prime, while the spotlight is brightest, while every door is wide open. That kind of foresight is remarkable for someone her age. And it also speaks volumes about the team surrounding her, and her own understanding of how fleeting these windows can be. The synergy with her existing deals only amplifies the strategy. She's already partnered with Xfinity, which is owned by Comcast, the parent company of NBC. This isn't a random opportunity falling into her lap. It's a deliberate strategic alignment of corporate interests that benefits everyone. NBC gets the biggest draw in sports. Comcast activates its investment in her through its own network. And Caitlyn gets a platform that reaches tens of millions of people. Everyone wins.
All of women's sports, I think this is one of the biggest moments we've ever had, so.
And she's adding broadcast experience to a resume that already boasts record-breaking athletic achievements and a portfolio of endorsements that would make players twice her age envious. She isn't just maximizing her current earnings, she's building equity for the long game. Every minute she spends on that NBC set is an investment in a career that could last long after her playing days are over. You have to understand how modern athlete branding has evolved. The old model was linear. You play, you retire, you audition for a TV gig, and hope someone gives you a shot. Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rules. Her model is parallel. She's developing her playing career and her media presence simultaneously, with each one amplifying the other. Every standout moment on the NBC desk draws more fans to her Indiana Fever games. Every highlight on the court makes people eager to hear her analysis on Sunday night. It's a self-reinforcing flywheel, and once it's spinning, it's nearly unstoppable. But beyond all the strategy and business moves, there's a deeply human side to this story. Think about who Caitlin Clark is. She grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, not exactly the epicenter of the basketball universe. She fell in love with the game by watching it on TV, dreaming of moments like the ones she's now creating herself.
Clark, another three-pointer! 6 threes on the...
Studying the game, and now she's on the other side of the screen, inspiring the next generation of kids who are sitting on their couches right now, watching basketball and dreaming big. Somewhere, a little girl in a small town is going to see Caitlin Clark on NBC breaking down an NBA game and think, if she can do that, maybe I can too. And that impact, it's bigger than any ratings milestone, any endorsement deal, or viral highlight. That is legacy. February 1st, Madison Square Garden. The lights won't just shine on the court, they'll spotlight a shift in influence. Lakers versus Knicks, Hall of Famers at the desk, and at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark steps into primetime holding a microphone instead of a basketball. On the surface, it's a debut. Beneath it, it's a deliberate reshaping of power, audience, and who steers the conversation in modern basketball. When the cameras go live and the theme music fades, watch closely, not just at what's said, but at who commands the room, because the most impactful moves in sports aren't always made on the hardwood. Sometimes they're made in the narrative, and by the end of the night, the question won't be whether she belonged, it will be who truly owns the game.